Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Āyurveda Academy YouTube channel. Today is a special day, and we are going to be talking with Darlene Dobroslavic, a member of myΑyu who has been working with Katerina and I in the myAyu membership complete plan since the beginning of 2022. And Darlene is a resident of Tucson, Arizona. She actually owns a pretty significant supplement shop and is very familiar with many of the common commercial concepts of how to keep the body healthy and things that are available for trying to maintain and promote health. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get through some issues she had, like long COVID, some car accidents. And so when she came to us at the beginning of the year, there was quite a bit to work with. We had the wonderful fortune of getting to spend the last almost 8 months together. And Katerina and I have gotten to know Darlene very, very well at this point. It's been such a pleasure. Darlene, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experience. We'd love to hear kind of like, how did you find us? How did you come into myAyu? And what made you decide that you wanted to come and do this? Because when you did it, you were really committed. And I think that helped the process.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how I got here. It was a random email, but that random email was important because we decided that I was up to something in life, and what I was calling it was successful aging. At 60 years old, 2 years ago, I just turned 62 last week, but at 2 years ago, even during COVID, I threw an elderhood ceremony for myself with a few friends, all spaced out in a wetlands, and just declared that I was going to stop hurting myself. I didn't know what that meant, but that I was up to successful aging. And so I speculated about that for a while, and then, you know, we got deep into COVID, and I got COVID from my son's caregiver. He's disabled in his 24/7 care, and so got COVID bad, oxygen. Maybe a month after getting symptom-free from COVID, was in a horrific car accident. And, you know, I just was like, wow, I just wanted to be successful at aging. Now I have to be successful at healing. So it became a two-pronged thing. And so I just kept saying, well, I do know a lot of things. I do have access to a lot of supplements, but there's something about getting out of your own way that's really important. And so I just started saying, what I seek is seeking me. And then there was this email. And so there was this email, and I looked at the email, and I clicked on every link, and I kept looking at myAyu Academy, and I got very excited, and I said, this is what I've been seeking. And so I immediately contacted on board and did the assessment, and then, you know, I asked her, how did I get this email? And she's like, I don't know. And we figured out that years ago, I probably, you know, stumbled upon something that, you know, there was no accident. Bottom line, there's no accidents. So I signed up, and it's been incredible because, you know, there's an opportunity to go from being in your rut, your just everyday life, even if it's when you're trying to do stuff, sometimes you're still in a rut. You think you're doing, and you're really just treading water. And that's started to shift for me, was that, you know, by doing changing some lives, like what I call lifestyle. No, Āyurveda is all about lifestyle medicine, but that's just what I call it. You know, when people come into my shop, and I may get them a supplement, but then I say, what's one thing you can do differently, you know, besides take this supplement, right? So I meet Jess and Katerina, and now they're in my head all the time, and I get to do things differently then. And now I know what I meant by 2 years ago, I want to stop hurting myself. You know, that word hurting sounds so tough but it was really just a lifetime of tripping along and just doing things and not knowing what you're doing, you know. Even when you know what you're doing, you don't always know what you're doing, you know. And now it's become crystal clear to me that the toxicity that I was building up by not knowing has become, I'm an active participant in seeing the past, but more importantly, seeing present what I can do each moment of each part of each day as a choice, rather than just rolling along like a rolling stone or something.
You said it so wonderfully, Darlene. Thank you. This is exactly why we work with folks in the way that we do. And, you know, I'm really glad that you came on to the complete plan and that you've stayed on the complete plan for this entire duration, because this is how you're getting the most out of it, right? You meet with me, you meet with Katerina, each of us every month. And so about every 2 weeks or so, every other week, we're able to check in with you. We're able to see, most importantly, where your questions are, see where you are at, and then kind of try to change your trajectory a little bit every time and sort of get you back onto a safer pathway every time.
Yeah, that's what I meant by a variety of techniques. They change a little bit and you build like, there's a term out there that I like. It's like stacking habits, you know, and I feel like that's what we've been doing, is stacking habits, and it feels wonderful.
That's
And
wonderful.
everybody thinks that they know how to, you know, how to eat good and how to do all these things, but really that's bulk thinking, what I call just bulk mind, you know, like read something, oh, that sounds good, let's do that. But it's so different in doing my complete program, because it really is tailored to me, you know, not just something in an Āyurvedic magazine or a health magazine, or, you know, it's not for the bulk. It's really cool. It's just so cool.
It's fun to get to work with folks like you, especially who are in it, who want to learn and who come and ask questions and you participate. You know, I think another thing, I think when I talk about you or think about you, is that the way your relationship with your own life has changed so much in the last 8 months. The way that you see your life, the way you participate in your life, the way you're able to discern better, right? What is hurting me and what is not hurting me, and have the empowerment to make that decision. So that's, you know, you're going to keep that for the rest of your life now. The next 40 years of your life have changed because
and it's different than in the past when you try something, and I'm no different than anybody else, so I feel okay saying it for everyone. Like when we try something and then we forget about it, and then it's like, oh, why come I don't do that anymore? This is so different. This is like, it gets under your skin. You can like, you are now the owner of this new way. More than a habit. It's like you've banished some of the toxic stuff. It's like you've banished it, you know, and then you're in the saddle with your thoughts, like optimizing your thoughts, optimizing your feelings, optimizing your actions. And people see it. You know, people say to me all the time, oh, you look great. You know, I mean, and I'm like, thank you. And I keep meeting people that I don't know, and they're like telling me I look young, you know, that I don't look like 62. And that's okay. That's not my goal. But I think that's just something that happens when you start dealing with this, you know, the waste in your life, you know, the mental, emotional, physical waste. You don't need it anymore. Once you start getting it out, you're like, whoa, I don't know. The tasks wind up in this program being pleasurable at some point. Like at first I might be confused, and I might be, you know, wondering what the heck I'm doing, but then it just, once you just keep staying with it and remembering what Katerina said, her sweet voice gets in your head and you just say, okay, this is important. I don't have to understand it all. I just need to keep my word, and practice the steps and then find that happy flow. It really becomes a key strength as you move along in the program. You get these really key strengths. So what do you think my key strengths have been that I've developed since you've seen me?
I think there's been a lot. I think your mental stability and your emotional stability is probably one of the biggest ones. Your ability to stick to the meal routine, the meal schedules, and not having those urges to, oh, I got to snack on this, I got to satisfy my emotions with that, right? So that in and of itself helps to keep the digestive system nice and efficient and clean and reduce the waste that's coming in, and everything else kind of stays more even keel because of it.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I just throw it out to the audience that energetically, people come into my shop all the time. I need energy. I need energy. And they always say, where did it go? Your energy. And they're like, I don't know. I said, well, are you sleeping? Are you eating? Are you drinking? What are you doing? What are you not doing? Right. So we usually have a conversation like that. But I have always been a pretty high energy person, but my energy has been more stable and more accessible than I'd say 90% of my friends who are my age and older, and so energetically, if you're looking for energy, this is good program. And the energy is just, it begets inner happiness, right? It's like you start to feel more happy and less dips into low spirits. I have, and I don't know what I put in my assessment, but I have had a lifetime of low spirits, dysthymia. And I'm just like, I'm not, and they come and they go, and I just don't see it coming. They just haven't been coming in. I think not that long ago, I did have a dip and I wrote to both of you about it. Like, it's just happening. But it was quick, it was smooth, it was, there wasn't a lot of, the optimism came back quicker and better. It magnified, everything just gets magnified on the positive side and diminished on the negative side. The negatives keep getting smaller in life, the low spirits, and the other stuff just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's fascinating.
That's amazing. It's really,
but I've heard you guys say that that's normal for everybody on the program. I think that's so crazy that you get to see that.
It's really incredible how many changes, how many improvements we are allowed to witness in this process. I think we're the luckiest people in the world to get to do this for a living. Actually.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because Katerina said something one day about, this is what happened. People stop getting the emotional eating urges pretty quickly once they start regulating. And I was like, how must that be so wonderful for you to see that in people, to celebrate that with them. It's so great. This is so great. What else do you think that you see happens to people like a lot?
This is so wonderful, Darlene. It's been such a pleasure to work with you. And I think one of the things that we see in people like yourself is their continued commitment and follow through, which is what ends up getting the results in the end. And we see this happening again and again with many of our clients where there is the follow through to that commitment that they made to themselves at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. We get to see them flourish over time. And some results are very immediate or very obvious. You can't miss them. And sometimes it's just very gradual. And over a period of time, when we reflect back on where we started, it's only then that we do actually get to recognize and realize, oh, actually, hang on, I have come a long way. And so if we take a moment to reflect on that for a moment with yourself, and to get really specific with this as well, when you first came into the program mid-January, what specific things were you experiencing physically, mentally, emotionally, habitually, and what do you see now, 7-8 months down the track? What has gone and what is remaining?
Big question. We'll have to talk about poop.
We love talking about poop.
So pooping is just so much better. I mean, I used to poop a lot and I thought that was good, but really it was, it wasn't good. It was like sort of me not digesting my food, me eating too much food, me eating the wrong food. And now poop is just like this thing that happens once a day, and it's just right. And everything is just magnified in that just right way, So that's one, which is much easier than having to poop all day long when you're out in the world. She's like, oh God. Let's see, what else? So pooping, well, the weight loss just happened, even though that wasn't our, primary goal. So, I think so in 8 months, like 20 pounds, not quite, so that's a nice, slow, healthy rollout of weight loss, and oh yeah, like, my skin just feels good. My eyes are bright. I started to say, my thoughts, feelings, and actions seem optimized. Like I can optimize them, less low spirits. The flexibility, the lack of ever feeling anything since getting the car accident stuff, wrapped up, and we could talk about that, but just lowering the inflammation that I didn't even realize I had. You guys probably did, the metabolic waste and all that inflammation is just, you can feel it just disappearing. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. Like the stuff I can do in yoga now, woo, watch out, I mean, it's great, like full on curled up little child pose, that's great, to squish up your organs like that. I think it's really great. And I should mention, I see a acupuncturist during the whole accident. And so it was great to get her feedback. And she's known me for 7 years. And so to get her feedback, well, and she's just like, God, your kidneys are better. This is better. So to answer to your question, she's saying my kidneys are better, my tongue is better, my pulses are better, all that stuff is better. So there's that. And
wonderful.
Yeah. And but I think best of all is that there's this holding pattern of contentment. When you feel better, life is just better. You get into a holding pattern that is a good one, and it's of peace and joy and with what is, and not craving what you don't have. You're just content with what you have. I don't understand how that works, but I do know that the mind and body are so connected that, I'm not so distracted by my body and what was going on with it, and there was COVID in the accident, but it was a lifetime of stuff that I was distracted by,
Yeah. And so through this process, what do you think you learned most about, firstly, health and wellness, but also alongside that about yourself?
Yeah, I think I learned that we are powerful, that I am powerful in the process when I say to myself, let's do this and let's explore and let's speculate and let's see what happens. And and let's just allow the whole process to unfold and stay out of my own way, So I've learned I'm kind of bossy and I'm kind of controlling and I'm pretty smart. And so I have this whole, winning formula out there in the world. And I'm kind of had to drop that here, and that's a lot of Americans have that formula, right? Be smart, do it all, So slowing down, I resisted the suggestion. I don't think I resisted it like a lot to you, but after our call, I was like, slow down. What is she asking about? What is she crazy? But I've been trying it. And I guess I should say, I shut down my business in a like a sabbatical kind of way, the way other professionals just kind of step away. So I did shut down my business for 6 weeks. And so I've learned a lot about myself because I was able to even work more reliably. What is it? Continuity of care, right? 7 days a week on, what I've been working on without excuses. But it's not about trying to get it perfect. I don't want anybody to think we have to be perfect at this, or Ayurveda is about being perfect. It's about your journey. And so it was for me to see if I change this, then that, and, we'll talk about that on another time. But so what I've learned is that I can try things, new things, that I'm an old dog that can learn new tricks.
It's wonderful. And so with because you have a huge amount of knowledge with health and wellness for a long period of time, you've been working in this industry, you've run your own business, you're an incredible human being, which is why we love working with you and love chatting to you like this. What would you say if there was like one thing that has changed your view or your perspective on health and wellness that you perhaps either had before or you didn't know that one thing? What was the missing link that you have learned since being in this program?
I'll just say what jumped into my head and then we'll see what comes after that. That variety isn't always the spice of life. That's simpler is sometimes better. That's been a big one. And because I've simplified a lot of things, it's helped my budget. Like I don't spend as much money being entertained. I don't spend as much money on groceries or going out to eat. And I'm still content without those things. So that's the first thing that just came popping up for me. Yeah, it's like this flow that just happens. All the things that I know, my main area of expertise is North American and European supplements, a little bit of Ayurvedic supplements, but not formulas. And so, I will say that working with the formulas has been interesting because they're very powerful. The formulas that you've given me have been very powerful, and maybe you could talk about the formulas and what we do in the program, that way.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks, Darlene. The Ayurvedic formulations, most of which we have available outside of India, would in India be called Ayurvedic medicines, and they're classed as Ayurvedic medicines in India, and they're designed, formulated in such a way, and compounded and prepared in such a way to target specific diseases and or specific presentations. And so in India, it's always advised that they be used under supervision of an Ayurvedic doctor. And that line has become quite gray outside of India, because some of the simpler ones like Triphala, which is really common, or Ashwagandha, which is everywhere now, or even Shilajit, those kinds of things have had their 15 minutes of fame. People think they get a little burst off of them. They think they get some value out of them, but we're taking little things out of big context. And how do we actually use them traditionally in Ayurvedic medicine, and how do we sequence them? So it's not just about take one pill for one illness. right? But it's about
Right.
how are we watching this person's presentation and stage-wise management. How do we manage this presentation in each stage so that we can direct it in a different way and get the person to end up in a different spot from where they started. So it's like a very elaborate chess game, kind of, and it's a very complicated equation that we as Ayurvedic doctors use in order to predict, well, what is this person going to need 2 months from now, right? If we keep X, Y, and Z running in the same way, and 1 or 2 seasons later, where is their trajectory? Where are they going to be, and what is going to help them at that point? And so all these calculations are, you know, we're never 100% accurate with them, but we'll get close as we can, and just keep turning the ship around, keep sailing in the right direction. So thankfully, you know, you've gotten to experience all of that, and because you were able to keep your diet in a good way, keep
Simple.
simple. And like you're saying, you know, it's not that it's boring necessarily, it's satisfying and you're content with it. And that contentment comes from stability. It comes from your body now knowing what to expect and thanking its lucky stars that you're making these choices to like do normal regular things and not kind of have a party every other night, right? So the body's very, very happy with these things. And on that
even, you know, I had a
foundation-
party and I ate at home instead of eating at the restaurant, you know, that wasn't a big deal.
Perfect. This is the foundation for health. Good sleep, good food, good activities, doing the right things at the right time of the day. And that gives us a big recipe for success. So
Right, but you get people who are, whether they're 30s, 40s, but especially in their 50s and 60s, and they have decades of, you know, it's not just sleep, you know, because my grandma said to go to bed and pray and, you know, do all these things, you know, but it wasn't enough because we need this kind of support that you offer at the youngest age possible if we want to avoid some of this stuff. But since we didn't get that, I'm trying to speak into like this, all the information that comes at us about breathing and circadian rhythm. I mean, there's a lot, you know, that's out there now. But what's different in a program like this, in my complete AYU, is that you are supported by you and your health coach, and that makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. And those formulas are not like what I can offer. The only thing I can offer is sometimes you're a responder, sometimes you're not. And we can start at a bigger dose and work our way down to see what works, or we can start a low dose and work your way. That's about the end of what I can offer. And it's all trial and error. You know, I found what working with you two that I'm seen, supported, someone's paying attention to me. It feels very comforting. And these formulas are very good. Like change happens.
awesome. Thanks, Darlene.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so I think we'll continue this conversation in another video. And I really appreciate, Darlene, everything that you've shared. I hope the audience appreciates it as well. I think it's so valuable for the world to get access to this, for people to be able to obtain traditional Ayurvedic medicine if they want to use it. And so, you know, having this team-based approach that we do with me as the Ayurvedic doctor, Katerina as the Ayurvedic Health Coach, and the rest of our team of Ayurvedic Health Coaches, we're working for you. We are here to help support you, make sure that you understand what it is that we're trying to achieve and how we're going to get there, and you know, to the extent that we can, of course. And mostly,
So let me end by saying that, you know, people want to be independently wealthy, like as a cool thing, but what about being independently healthy? So I went and I changed from successful aging to I'm going for independently healthy.
I love it.
So that's what you can do in this program. Power to the people.
Thank you, Darlene. Wonderful. All right. I think we'll wrap it up. Katerina, anything else?
I think Darlene summed it up beautifully at the end there.
Let's keep doing this, ladies.
Fantastic. All right,
See you
great. Thank you
soon.
so much. See you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.